Hey everyone, and welcome. When we think about interior design, it's so easy to just picture someone flipping through paint swatches or fluffing fancy pillows. But what if I told you that's just the tiny, visible tip of this massive creative and intellectual iceberg? Today, we're going to dive deep into what interior design really is, a fascinating process of solving some really complex human problems. Let's get into it.
So let's start with the big question. When you strip away all the TV makeovers and the glossy magazine spreads, what is the actual day-to-day job of a professional interior designer? What are they really trying to do for their clients?
And this slide right here, this gets to the heart of the whole misunderstanding. The myth is that it's all about aesthetics, just picking things that look nice together. But the reality? Oh, it's so much deeper. It's a really rigorous discipline, almost an investigation into how people live and work and how space can be totally transformed to make their lives better.
And that's the key, isn't it? Good design is a holistic answer. It's not just a collection of cool objects in a room. It's a single, cohesive solution that makes a space work beautifully and just feel right. It's really where the practical meets the philosophical.
Okay, so where does a journey like that even begin? Well, this first section is all about laying the groundwork, moving way beyond just surface-level decorating, and getting into the real heart of the design process.
So here's our roadmap. It basically breaks down into these 4 key stages. We're going to follow this journey from start to finish, from figuring out the person, to forging that one big idea, to drawing up the plans, and finally to building their world. It's this super structured path that turns a vague need into a real, tangible space. So let's start with step 1, which is arguably the most important one.
Everything, and I mean absolutely everything, in good interior design starts with the human element. Before a single line is drawn, before a single color is picked, the designer has to become an investigator. They have to dive deep, really deep, into the client's world.
Seriously, think of the designer as a detective. The brief, that's like the initial case file. The client comes in and says what they think they want. But the real police work happens in the profiling and analysis. How do they actually live? What are the little daily frustrations they have with their space? It's all about sifting through all this info to find the core problem, which, believe me, is often completely different from what the client first said.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? It captures the whole point of that detective work. The best designers, they don't just follow instructions like a robot. They listen, they analyze, and they're not afraid to challenge the initial request to get at a deeper, more profound solution. The real goal is to deliver what the client truly needs, not just what they asked for.
And if you want the ultimate example of this, look no further than the story of Falling Water. The client's brief was super simple. I want a house with a great view of my favorite waterfall. Simple enough, but the architect, the legendary Frank Lloyd Wright, he saw something else. He realized the client didn't just want to look at the waterfall, he wanted to experience it, to live with it. So what did he do? He built the house right on top of it, creating one of the most iconic homes in history, all because he questioned the brief.
Okay, so all that detective work is done. You've figured out the client and the real problem that needs solving. So, what's next? Well, this is the really crucial stage where all of that research gets distilled down into a single, powerful idea that's going to guide the entire project.
And that big idea is called the concept. You can think of it like the North Star for every single decision that comes after. And it's not a color scheme or a furniture style. It's way more abstract than that. It's the core feeling, right? The central story that the space is going to tell. Every choice from then on, from the floor plan all the way down to the doorknobs, gets checked against this one concept. Does it serve the big idea? If not, it's out.
Let's look at a real-world example so you can see what I mean. For a gallery at the V&A Museum in London, the designers came up with a concept inspired by the London Underground, specifically that feeling of constant movement, of intersecting tunnels, and catching these partial glimpses of different routes. And get this, that one abstract idea, movement, tunnels, and routes, drove everything. It dictated how people would move through the space, the actual shapes of the structures, the materials they used, and the entire look and feel of the place. That one concept created this totally cohesive, unified experience. It's pretty amazing. But how do you get from a cool, abstract idea like the London Underground to a physical plan? Well, this is where sketching comes in, and this quote is so important. It's not about making pretty drawings. In these early stages, drawing is literally a tool for thinking. This is such a critical point. You don't figure it all out in your head and then draw the perfect plan. No way. The very act of sketching is the process of figuring it all out. It's how designers can test out ideas, discover problems they didn't see coming, and explore different solutions. It's often messy, it's iterative, and honestly, it's where a lot of the magic happens.
And designers use both manual and digital tools for this. Drawing by hand gives you this really spontaneous, almost visceral connection to the project. On the other hand, digital tools like CAD give you incredible speed and efficiency, especially for refining and sharing those ideas. They're both essential parts of the modern designer's toolkit.
All right, we've gone from a human need to a core concept, and we've developed it on paper. So now it's time to make it real. This final phase is all about turning that blueprint into a physical reality. And that means getting your hands dirty with the world of construction.
A great designer has to be part architect, part engineer. And this right here highlights something they absolutely have to understand. In a frame structure, you have tons of freedom to move walls around. But in a load-bearing structure, those walls are literally holding the building up. Knowing the difference is beyond crucial. It can be the difference between a brilliant redesign and, well, a structural disaster.
The implementation phase is where the rubber really meets the road. It means creating these hyper-detailed drawings for the contractors, being on site to make sure the vision is actually being built correctly, and, this is a big one, solving all the unexpected problems that always pop up. A designer's ability to communicate and collaborate with builders is just as important as their creative vision. And this is the payoff. All of that deep thinking, all that detective work and creative exploration is finally transformed from lines on a page into a three-dimensional space that people can actually live in, work in, and experience.
So let's circle all the way back to where we started. Good design is so much more than what it looks like. It's this incredible discipline that requires both deep, practical knowledge and an almost philosophical understanding of how we as humans interact with our environments. It really is holistic. It brings together function, like what does the space need to do, with emotion. How does the space need to feel to create totally new possibilities for the people who are going to use it?
And that's really the big takeaway here. A truly great interior doesn't just happen by accident. It is the product of a process that is rigorous in its analysis, deeply empathetic in its understanding of people, and wildly creative in its solutions.
So I'll leave you with this one question. Take a look around the room you're in right now. I mean, really look. Don't just see the furniture or the color of the walls. Instead, ask yourself, what human problem is this space trying to solve, and how well is it doing its job?